Yeah, we're just waiting for Sir Stone to join us at some point. Welcome.
Master Robert Stone arrives when he's damn good and ready.
That's right. Episode 500. We have a special guest hanging out with us for a bit here, Mr. Bill Stiegel, right down there. The man, the myth, the legend. It's
I can't believe 500 shows, man.
It's crazy, right?
So stupid.
I think we're up to 40. 40 shows.
Well,
we're gonna celebrate.
You only have one every lunar 40th. Eclipse. Like, that's the problem. You need a slave driver who says we have to do it once a week, no matter what.
Man, we just want the people to want more every time we put it out. So twice a year seems to work.
Yeah,
I see how you work it. You guys work it. I thought for sure we were going to get more Stiegel in my life once you were retired, but we got less. What's going on?
He's got other stuff to do.
Living the dream. Living the dream.
Be careful what you wish for, Burke.
That is also true.
You may get a whole bunch of me in your life.
Yeah. Whoa, buddy.
So I did the math, and Owen, we have done 500 episodes together. This is episode 500.
Yep.
It is a huge milestone as far as reptile podcasts go. It is 1,050 hours of time we've spent together.
Dear God.
63,000 minutes. 3,780,000 seconds
that I will never get back. None of this time I will ever get back. It's all gone.
43.75 days we spent together. And 1.43 months.
This does not include times where we did shit not recorded, like,
yeah.
Australia, trips to other places. Yeah.
Well, they were fun times,
Is 500 the most episodes of any reptile cast that you know about?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Has to be.
There's nobody. The only one that I think, and they didn't do anywhere near, I don't think they broke 200, would be Reptile Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at this point we're just like we're adding on to the score, like we're running up the we've already won, but now
we call it piling on.
Yeah. I think at this point we're just piling on. It's whatever. It's fine.
So
it is quite an honor to be invited to come on the 500th show. I know Buddy sorry he couldn't make it. I'm sure he got the invite, but he's probably working or something.
That poor fool.
I just think about the early days when there was a couple other podcasts that were more general reptile related, but basically the only game in town was us and you guys.
And you guys,
Well, I don't know. I think we came on. It was at least a couple years after you guys.
I think so.
I think at least a couple.
Because I think I had met you before you started with Buddy, and I was like, the two of them are going to do it. All right. So.
Yep. Yeah. We met for sure. And I keep going back to Eric's, your very first episode, solo.
Oh, jeez. Terrible.
Whenever I feel down, I just listen to that episode, and it perks me right up.
I think the first time that Owen, we met Bill was at ICAST, right?
Yes, yes, because he was a very odd man who had me sign a carpet book I had no business writing. And I'm like, I don't.
That book wasn't for me. I was just on an errand. I was a messenger.
Evan, right?
Yes, that was for Evan. But yes, you were very generous. You did sign the carpet book.
We did. It's like how when Eric has us sign the calendars, he writes this whole big long thing, and I usually just write an arrow and says ditto. It's like an afterthought. Owen,
I know you have trouble signing your name. So
it's quite difficult.
X. Your mark. The mark.
Smiley face. It's done.
Can't believe
it. Man, that was a long time ago.
That was the first. Seem like that long ago, but then when you think about it, it was it seems like it was yesterday. But when the hell was that? What year was that?
Ooh, 2000.
It was 10 years, right?
16, maybe
16. So it's getting up
14?
there to close to. I don't know, but
maybe 14. I think it was 2014.
I think so.
It's been 9 years ago.
God.
Wow.
Yeah. Good. That was the first event I ever went outside of my home and like traveled to an event. That's the first one.
Really?
And, yeah.
Well, in your defense, Texas is very large, so
that is true. But I picked a good first one to go to.
You did.
I have
You
to say
did.
that. Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
fun.
I mean, Bill, you were well, I guess you were sort of just really getting into the groove of chondros at the time, right? You were more carpets and ball pythons, right?
I think I had one green tree at ICAST. I think I had one, but yeah, still in the carpets. Speaking of carpets, I still have one of your girls that you produced.
The caramel jag, super caramel jag, or something like that, right?
No, I don't.
Nope.
I don't have that one.
Okay.
What I do have is one that Eric produced.
The evil
caramel
one.
Yes, the evil one.
Evil suck. Oh,
She's still as evil as ever.
good.
She's
Caramel
caramel
head albino, right?
Yes, sir. You got a good memory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still have her. She locked up a couple of times for me this year. I've got a diamond zebra jag male.
Jesus,
Nice.
what? So wait, you're just throwing it. Wait,
Yeah.
my brain.
course.
It's a
He's a
zebra
chondro
diamond
guy,
with a
man.
head
What do you
albino
expect?
caramel. What is this? It's just.
I mean,
We're just dumping ingredients
but
into this bowl.
It's a happy ending, Owen. She didn't produce.
Oh my god!
I quit breeding. I quit breeding her when the green tree started to go crazy. But multiple locks witness. She just
nice.
didn't go. So
Yeah, well, next year,
next year.
you know what the hell it would be, but all right, like it's.
I want everybody to know that we're going to catch up with Bill in August and have an episode where
long,
we're just
full
focused
episode.
on real, not the where we're talking about Bill's stuff. So you got a lot going on. You produce rough scales and you produce.
Yeah.
We want to talk about
Sorry,
your
Omac.
Candinos for some reason.
I'm gonna get you all
Never gonna
tore
happen.
up in the ball python language. I'm gonna have you just stuttering around trying to pull out, Candino, sugar.
I like to throw
Toffino.
every once in a while I learn a new morph so I can throw it out in conversation because then Eric does like a stutter step. He's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like,
How did you know that?
I'm like, it's like a monarch. And he's like, wait, that was
Listen.
correct. I'm like, yeah.
Listen, I have converted guys with reputations such Gary Schiavino, ball python guy.
Mm.
Greg
Broke
Maxwell.
Yeah.
Maxwell, ball python guy.
Yeah.
That's crazy
You know,
to me.
The mighty are crumbling.
It's like he's got a list and he's just ticking us off one by one. It's like,
And Owen, you're the top of the list.
yeah,
The
the
pyramid is
closest
right here.
I'm the prize at the end of the
You are
rainbow.
the prize.
But
My work will be finished when you
There's-
have produced your first clutch.
closest I've gotten so far is I have an Angolan python now, and that's close enough. You don't need to.
I've
start
set the stage for you, Bill. All you got to do is just take that
knocking
football
the
and run
pins down.
buddy.
Yeah.
I figured
God.
that's the closest we got. It had bumps like a rough scale,
Yeah.
and it's
Eric knows how to get me into other species. Look, it's weird. Oh, it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
check this out.
It's been happening for like 15 years now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You into other species.
The shift of our relationship and collections has been fun when you think about it.
Yeah.
Where like I've got this weird shit. I'm like, I'm throwing a jungle jag project, and Eric's like, I'm just doing diamonds and I have a very small collection. It's like somehow we went like this,
Yeah, you
and
guys did.
it's very weird.
We've
So,
traded spots. We balanced out the the
Mhm.
planet. It's gotta stay balanced in the.
There always has
in
to be
the-
one. Yeah.
that's
How,
it.
how many species are each of you guys working with right now? If you, just throw a number
36
out.
off the top of my head.
36?
Yep.
Bert?
Probably 15.
15.
Maybe 18. Yeah, 18.
Wow. And I'm sitting on 6.
But then there's also the numbers of you're working with 6 different species, but how many animals do you have?
Yeah, I think I probably have animals on hand, not including like babies and stuff, probably like adults and sub-adults, probably 300.
Yeah, see,
Okay.
you still beat me. I think I'm close to 2.
So that's expanded since we saw your place the last time.
He
we were
always
down
had
at
that
Carver
room. I
Fest.
guess just maybe he filled bins because there in his old place he had room for way more than he had.
My new place now, which you guys haven't been to, is a lot bigger.
Cool.
A lot bigger. So yeah, I utilize the space, but it's not crowded. So
Nice.
It's nice.
It's nice when you have some room and you can do things and
move your arms around,
Yeah.
without knocking into snakes.
For me, it's smaller, but
easily achieved for Eric. Yeah,
it doesn't take much room. Just
Well, I mean, it's like nice when Brian Phillips, visits a collection.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
His big body and little arms, he can get around just fine.
Yeah. The rule in Eric's collection, we started with the whole it couldn't be above Eric's head, but then we realized that there was really no room for anything like
There's
that.
nowhere to go.
It's not going to work.
It's only
we just got him a step ladder. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh man.
Well, yes. Obviously, I visited Eric's place, but it's been so long. When was the last Carpet Fest?
3 years ago.
Original.
3 years ago.
It seems longer.
Yeah, it does,
really
don't
does.
it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Working on it.
We need to start opening that up, and I'm certainly be happy to host a Southern, down here within the next year time frame, and
that would be awesome.
Let's just get it going again.
Yeah.
We got to.
Yeah, we will. It's on the docket for 2023 is to hammer that back up and start again.
If you guys could stay out of Australia, it would make things a lot easier.
Not my problem.
I can, man. I can.
There's somebody else on this call who's got that issue.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I'll be back in October, so I can't wait. It's my new addiction.
sprinting back to Australia.
Yeah.
Is this trip 3 for you, Eric?
Trip 3, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I think the following year, I think we're going to go up to the Iron Range, try to find green trees.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah. Come on. I mean, seeing a wild green tree.
I know.
I mean, it's not going to be healthy.
It's not going
to be good.
It's going to look terrible. It's going to look like an import.
It's not going to be all right.
It's garbage.
It will not. What the hell is this?
This doesn't look like the sickness.
It's not flattering.
Trash.
Where's the blue? No, it's not.
It's green.
Green.
All these snakes are green.
Yeah.
Australia, you've lied to me.
You've disappointed me for the last time. Yeah.
Oh, man.
That would be fun. I'm still holding. I'm going to keep my powder dry for the Kimberly.
Yeah, there's that one too. Yeah. So it's usually twice a year, but Carpet Fest will happen in 2023 somehow, some way. I'm not really sure how we're going to do it, but
we'll figure it out.
We're going to make it happen.
Yep.
And we usually did it there this summer, right?
Yeah. Having a winter Carpet Fest would be not ideal in Pennsylvania.
And having a summer Carpet Fest would not be ideal here.
Yeah.
I did mine in the spring or the fall for sure.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you did. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
That's where we were introduced to the the pina colada machine.
No, margarita.
Margarita machine.
Yeah.
Margaritas and cigars.
I'm trying to. I tried to convince Melissa to have a margarita machine or something like that at the wedding, and so far it's been kiboshed. So I'll figure it out.
We did Snakes and Stogies before Snakes and Stogies were cool.
That's right. God damn it.
We sure did.
If anything, they're a spin-off of us. It's a different. Yeah, come on.
Some of us did a little harder than others, but
that's true.
Yeah, we did it.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
I was finding, was it Owen, your business cards or Howard's business cards?
It was Howard's business cards.
The week we moved out, I was still finding those cards 4 years later.
Oh my gosh.
I was after I hosted the first at my place, I was finding them all the way up until the day before I hosted it again, and they just added more to the point where I think at one I was finishing up a peanut butter jar and I looked and they had somehow surgically placed it in between the label and the jar. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like like you could see it through the jar. And I'm like, these guys are like, at one point I went to a Hamburg show with all of Howard's business cards that I had found that week. And it was a stack and I just put them down on his table and he was about to unpack his and just dropped it. He's like, good enough. Like, I don't need to do that.
You don't need to give him more ammunition, man.
I can't help it. He doesn't need any more bullets. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Those are good times, man.
Oh yeah. Those were fun.
Speaking of good times, guess who I just saw in San Diego, California, at this little event. MJ Juarez, who you guys may or may not know, he's got a couple of podcasts, but he posted a little thing, and I saw Mr. Brandon Wheeler.
No shit.
I did.
All right.
You didn't wheel her off of anything?
Yeah, you
did
jump on anything?
No, he was on like his best behavior. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, man.
So,
He needs to get a full day of drinking in him before he starts figuring out if he can jump off of buildings.
He did that.
Oh, good.
He just got sick instead.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So I got to see him on the East Coast and the West Coast.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Hopefully
Very
never
cool.
Texas. Hopefully never Texas.
Never touch. Hopefully never.
We don't jump off
keep all
our
those
roofs
people off
down
to the
here.
side. We don't want them in Texas. Yeah, I got
You
it.
jump off the roof, you're getting shot, son.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
that is cool. That is fun.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's been way too long.
If you guys have one, then I'll have one.
Okay,
I'll make you a deal. But if I come to yours, you have to come to mine.
Absolutely.
twist my arm. I will
Fair.
come to Texas
Yes.
again.
I will have
Yep.
the cheesesteak with the Swiss ready to go, man. It will be ready for you. Piping
Nico's
hot.
shaking his head. I'm trying to wean off the Swiss.
Oh, yeah, you
But-
can.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll never go to that canned shit.
Oh, no. I don't go to
never-
that either.
I
That's
never do
bullshit.
You don't want the gooey
Whiz?
yellow plastic?
What, the
Yeah, come on.
pimento, was that pimento cheese or something like
It's whiz. It's
that? Whiz? No.
If you pour
Mostly
them
plastic.
into a mold, if you pour that cheese into a mold, you could make snake hides out of it that are orange after that.
Give it a
hardens
day.
up.
that's why if you don't, what was it? There was some eating competition where somebody did like one of those really big cheesesteaks,
yeah.
and he chose whiz as his cheese. I'm like, by the end of it, you're chewing concrete. Like, what's the matter with you?
Oh,
That was dumb.
terrible.
So, yeah.
I'll just
Caramelized onions.
I'll just get it the classic way,
Oh yeah. With Swiss cheese. That's the
not
classic.
the Texas way.
Yeah.
That's the Texas way.
Classic way.
classic way.
Caramelized onions. That's the key. You got
Yeah.
it, Scott. That's the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everybody's in the chat. Thank you for everybody coming and hanging out. We're just gonna hang out,
Yeah.
shoot the shit, reflect on the past 500 episodes.
Bill can come up and make another bet with Matt Minatola about Eagles v Cowboys, and I can sit here with my Steelers jersey on and cry. So it's
You had to bring up that sore subject right when I'm getting ready to go, huh? Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I gotta twist the knife and then run away. It's
That's
like,
Drew
you know,
McIntyre style. Come on.
I think he killed that chondro anyway, didn't he?
I
I hope so.
You say I hope so. I hope it's dead.
I hope
Jesus,
it's
traitor bastard.
If I can't have it, I don't want
No,
anybody.
I don't want
to
anybody to have it.
have it. All right, guys. I'm going to exit
Bill.
stage left, and
All right.
you guys enjoy the rest of the show. And really appreciate you guys having me on, man. It was a great honor to be here for number 500.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
man. We'll catch up with you soon, and hopefully we'll see you in person soon too.
Hopefully, 2023, man.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
right.
All right,
All right,
guys.
Bill.
All right, thanks,
care.
Bill.
See ya. All right, very cool. Yeah, man.
It's been a
you believe-
while. Yeah.
What? Yeah, that we
Since we saw
talked
Bill,
to
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I miss those days. It's kind of weird, right? It's like I had this whole should I read it? I had this.
Oh, do you have like do you have a speech prepared?
I do have a speech
Oh my
prepared. That was a
God.
speech. Of
All right.
course, man. This is a big
course.
deal. All right.
Yeah.
So wow. Let me clear my throat. We're at episode 500. The past 10 years have been an amazing ride with what I would say one of the best communities in the reptile hobby. That would be the Morelia community. When we started this podcast, the genus Morelia was only known to a select few. I mean, ball pythons were hitting it out of the park with all the amazing morph combos that you would never think that a snake could ever look like they were making. Carpet pythons and GTPs, we'll get to the other ones in a minute, have had so much misconception about them that the average keeper look at them as a difficult to keep correctly, with all the misconceptions about humidity and heat, or they were aggressive and they were difficult to breed. Without the allure of morphs, most Morelia keepers of the time focused on wild types and selecting for the best examples of that, slowly refining them over the years to today. You cannot help but be sucked into an amazing beauty of a jungle carpet. I mean, a snake that has both jet black and blinding yellow is hard to beat. As much as I'm an IJ guy, I have to admit that it's hard to beat a beautiful jungle. At the time when we started, the taxonomy was a bit different. Scrubs, Boelens, Oenpellis were all.
Oh my god, yeah, we had all this.
Really?
We had all the fun shit. And like, yeah,
we had all
the fun shit, and then they kept taking stuff. Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, you talked about tax. No, wait a minute.
Hold on.
I lose that. Now I lost my spot.
And the cues and
scrub
read
python,
the prompter. Read the prompter.
Oenpellis. I feel like Joe Biden. Oenpellis were all considered Morelia. To me, this group of snakes had everything. I mean, you talked about taxonomy. They were interesting with tons of. There were interesting tidbits with tons of passion on what should be or what shouldn't be. If you spoke about where they were found, what they ate, how they bred, most of that wasn't really known. I think about the scrub pythons in particular with all that, and Boelens. I mean, the only person that's really seeing Boelens pythons in the wild is like Ari. Really,
yeah.
I mean, a couple other people. Mark Spataro, I think he went up there a couple times.
I don't know. From reading Stolen World, a bunch of people have. And then they kind of just do karate with them and leave them on the mountain. But that's neither here nor there.
And this is what I always thought of as a species that, to me, scrub pythons were, once you sort of had carpets and green cheese down, you kind of moved on to scrubs. They had these unique colors and patterns for specific localities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think remember the oxables? I mean, remember how
but do you remember how shit changed? It was oxable, then it was orange, then it's Highland, then it's like the terminologies that get thrown around with pythons so much that get lost by the wayside. It's funny when they pop back up, because like right now, there are a bunch of white lips. They're being called sarong white lips on Morph Market and a couple other places.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, well, they're sarong white lips. What does that mean? Are they golds? Are they blacks? Like it, yeah,
right.
The golds.
I mean, I don't know. That was like one of the white whales at the time. It's like if you had an oxable scrub python, you were in the know. You knew the people that
somebody got you that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I just hope that we had a positive impact on the hobby by introducing the world to some of the most amazing, passionate group of people. They have shared their secrets on how to keep and breed these species. What I dare say is the most amazing group of snakes on the planet, whether it's Morelia or any other species of Indo-Australian pythons. I hope that we have shown everyone that these snakes were misunderstood and, in fact, make some of the most amazing captive snakes. Thank you to all the guests that have come on and shared your knowledge with us over the years. And thank you to all the people that have supported us for the last 500 episodes. Here's to the next 500.
No. We've reached 500. I get to have a contract negotiation again.
Okay, fair enough.
You promised at 500 I'd be free. The curse would be lifted. And I can now be free.
I lied.
I knew it.
So, here let's see. The Podfather has spoken. There he is.
Hi, Rob.
Rock. What's up, man?
Not too much. How are you guys?
Living the
show.
Yeah. It's just funny to me how much, I was thinking about this last night. I guess I never really thought about this. And Rob, this is probably something for you because you've been in the hobby, like in the hobby for quite a while. And it's probably how you have these flashbacks of things from, whether it be Daytona in the early days or whatever. But I think of just like the early days of Morelia and just how, I don't know, like how basic and really not represented in the hobby really at all. I mean, am I wrong? Am I wrong to think that? I just don't remember really seeing like not until I mean, that year when the podcast came out, you had Carpet Row, you had the Carpet Book, you had all these things sort of hit at one time and just made for an awesome time to be in the hobby. I don't know. What do you guys think of owning?
Rob is, or I'll go.
I was waiting for you to go, Owen.
I was waiting for you. You're the. I'm here all the time. Like it is. you still get to play guest every once in a while, like, for me, it definitely seemed weird because you got to remember I came into the hobby in the early 2000s and was immediately I think my second snake of all time was a carpet. So I didn't know anything else other than Morelia carpets and things like that. So when stuff started picking up, Jags, Morphs, projects coming through, the book, Carpet Row, I jumped on the Carpet Fest. I jumped on the podcast. So I've been riding the train pretty much the whole time. Even then, I was like, I knew nothing going into NPR, and that is painfully obvious with several early episodes. So this has been my education and my introduction to a lot of things. And I shudder to think several times over what my collection or what everything would be like if I hadn't jumped onto the podcast. I'd probably still have 6 carpet pythons and think I was hot shit. So, thank God that stopped.
Who's this Eric Burke dude?
My original idea was get close to you and kill you. So it was.
I'm still waiting for the.
Still waiting for it. I haven't decided when phase 3 will begin, but soon.
Yes.
Soon.
This is why you never sign a new contract.
That is true. I understand now. I see how it goes. But I would say it's been interesting to see it grow from the inside. And it's funny when new people come in and like they automatically jump in and they don't know a lot of the old stuff, a lot of the history, but they use the terms and they know just enough to be dangerous. It's like, this is my MBB thing. What does MBB stand for? No idea. Oh, that's an animal, dude. Like, it's that kind of stuff. So it's fun to see that new generation come in and kind of learn everything from just they're dipping a little toe in until they're eventually fully immersed in it. So
yeah. Do you think this 1,000 shows celebration, Owen will be back as a Python guy again? Yeah, it'll come full circle.
Maybe. Eric will be a fully formed artificial intelligence by that point because he'll be dead by 1,000 episodes.
Yeah, pretty much. You'll have to download my brain into another my 20-year-old body. That would be quite nice. No more stopping me to get to the top of the mountain.
That or eventually it'll be one of those things where we have to shut down NPR because Eric has decided he's going to go live in the bush, with no shoes as a hobbit of Australia.
I wouldn't mind that either.
Yeah, see?
I wouldn't mind that.
If they had better coffee, he'd be gone already. So
I will accept the flat white if it meant that I could look at carpet pythons in the wild every morning. I would power through.
Yeah. Suffer. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't even remember, Rob. Maybe you can tell this story because I don't think we've ever told this story. How did you become involved with NPR? What was like the initial? Did I contact you to get on the show, or was it Reptile Radio?
He listened to our first 2 episodes and says, "God, these boys need help.
I gotta help these guys out."
My God, these idiots. It's like...
Well, I think we'd been in contact out of the Reptile Radio stuff, right? From when we were both listening at the same time. And then, as you've told, whenever there was a carpet thing, Wilbert or Nick or whatever, you would always put in all these questions. And then I was on the show with CK down the road, right? Which I guess then you had heard, and we were talking out of that. So I was listening because you had come on Reptile Radio to talk about the show very early on, within a week or 2 of doing it. And the community was so much smaller at that point too, in terms of podcast, her podcast and all that stuff, that it was, everyone's taking in all the content that they can for sure. Mm-hmm. So I was listening that whole time, and then we were talking out of those things. And there would be little tidbits of, hey, consider it in this perspective or whatever. So many of those early shows, right? It was Luke was on it was tied around the Tinley show and Luke being on. And then it was the book sequence, right? Which is funny on this timing. It only took 500 episodes for him to put out a second edition.
We should
slackers.
put out what has happened in between books, like when they talk about like those kind of things, like in between World Series. It's like what has happened between carpet books? A whole new series of Star Wars. 500 NPR episodes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's not counting all the spin-offs for both. So
I know, right?
So I mean, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Yeah.
So I think it was just out of that, and then it was mostly we were just talking offline about, hey, what about the X, Y, and Z, and then I'd come on, and probably I don't know, about a year in, 8 months to a year in, something like that, and then come back the next week. It was one of those that then it come back the next. We'd hit 3 hours, come back the next week. I think maybe there was a week in between. And then I mean, ever since then, you always, I'm sure, dread the messages where it's like, you said this wrong, or what are you talking about, or whatever. So
all those went to Eric. Because we'd still be reading them if we went through all mine.
I remember hearing Rob on Reptile Radio, and he was talking. I didn't even know what a rhino rat snake was. I just remember him talking about them, and I was like, all right, let me look these up real quick. And I'm like, oh, that's a pretty cool looking snake, and he's he's just hitting all the eargasm things I want to hear, like he's telling like facts about natural history, where they're found, all these things. And I'm like, whoa, this guy's got this fucking thing down, man. Like, I gotta talk to this dude. And man. And then it was, and here we are now, 500 episodes later.
It's funny because it's like in the early years I had the blinders on, and it was like, Rob works with rhinos. I'm like, cool. Like, and that's like Rob brought rhinos to our table at Tinley. And I let them go. Like, Past Owen was very touched in the brain.
It's funny though, right?
Yeah, I know,
funny,
right?
Because I remember we walked around the table. Yeah. This was only maybe 5-6 years ago. I guess maybe longer than that.
No, I think it was longer than
7-8 years. But what I'm saying is, we were walking around Tinley, and I remember Rob pointing out all these different species of stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, it's not a carpet python. I could care less. Like,
how does that work with a Morelia? It doesn't. I don't. What are you talking about? Like,
is that in the genus Morelia, Rob? No. Well, then I don't care. Let's keep going.
Best case would be, does something in the genus Morelia eat that? That would maybe be the extent of the interest.
How do I feed that to my Morelia? Right. You don't. It's
I mean, oh man, the podcast has really like sort of it, going to Australia, going on all the trips that we've gone on, people that we've talked to on the show. I mean, like Dr. Richard Ross, I mean, just things that, becoming friends with Rob and Keith and Matt and all these, Nick and Justin and Chuck and, all these different people.
I don't think I would have ever been to Australia without the podcast. So
no.
If so, it would be a really
10
crappy
years to get there with the podcast.
If it would be if I had, it would be one of those, like, I would have been excited to go to some sort of Australian zoo and see the thing.
We would
behind
be in
the
zoo.
Yes. Yeah, I'd be at Crocosaurus Cove going, I saw an Owen Pelly python behind glass. Like no. So yeah.
So I mean, it's just so crazy how it's evolved over the years, to where we went from such minimal collections with such a closed mind to being so
something happened. I don't
know.
We're
calling that McIntyre in it.
I know
it's spread out.
It's not good. It's not good. Yeah. I'm sitting here and there's a
how's the season going for you?
I don't. There have been many mistakes.
I tried to tell you. Rob tried to tell me.
Shut up. Listen, I know the both of you told me.
Yeah,
I didn't listen. I know that's shocking. Like,
neither did I.
I'm sitting here as the third clutch of Mad Hogs is getting ready to hatch, and I'm sitting here with a clutch of carpets, and I'm like, hey, that's that rack done. So I got that one's half full. What else is still in the incubator? Oh, another clutch of carpet pythons, white lips, olive pythons. What else is in these bins? Oh, the 2 clutches of corn snakes, the pine snakes. The other blonde hog nose, rhinos. Why is that breadlie basking upside down? Oh no! Like there's a
And your bred lie,
I don't want to talk
we're
about
not talking like a 10 egg clutch.
I don't want
either
to talk
there,
about her
man.
and the 35 things she's going to drop on me in a minute. Like it's
good. Gravy.
Owen's definitely going to move to from your horrific year where he's just got stacks of tubs placed all around the room. That's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like I have
all
the black rat snakes in the bins that Eric gave me for his baby carpet bins, and they're all stacked on top of one of the cages because they're collie birds. And I'm like, my God, I've become him. They're stacked above me of cages of snakes. It's like, that's.
I still have more of them too. If you need more,
I do. I do.
I will come ones, right?
I got to come to your house anyway to get stuff. So, yeah, I have Crebo.
well, at least AP has a quick turnaround time on rats.
Any minute now, I can. Yeah.
When did you order them, Owen? In 2021?
Remember there was that one rack.
Did you order them when you had the breeders as hatchlings? Hopefully,
yeah, they'll get here by the time they have their second litter. There was that one rack. Remember, I ordered it on Black Friday from their sale, and then it didn't arrive until August, and it was too tight. I couldn't open it anyway. I'm like, I hate this thing.
Yeah, I didn't. I wasn't a fan of. I mean, their cages are okay, but the racks I didn't like because they had that. I don't know. You couldn't like get the way they did the heat tape. It like kind of like wrapped around.
Yeah,
you got to get it in the groove, and it didn't sit quite right. And I just didn't like it.
I only buy floor model. Like you go to the show, what's right in front of me, I can test it. And this is coming with me, and then I leave.
Yeah. So okay.
That being said, I need to replace my wood 6-foot cages. So
yes, you do. You can't. Come on, man. What are you, an amateur? You got like what's going on?
There's so many things.
With all these snakes are selling, you should be living in prime time, right?
You gotta feed the rest of them. Like it's not one of those
to say. Your snake slum and my snake's high end.
Well, because there was that one episode where you're like, I don't know, Owen's got all the I have these really high dollar, really awesome snakes in these bins, and Owen's got these really nice cages. I'm like, and what? Like, go on, finish your sentence. Yes. Like it's.
I'm not saying that your carpet
no. What were you saying? Like,
I'm just saying that they're not as nice as mine.
Not as mine. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this albino granite spotted zebra. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Whew, that's another thing that's changed, right? I was so morph centric those years, in the early years, and now I could give two shits less about morphs.
I just love it because you had everything laid out of. I will breed these animals this year, and that will make this animal, and that animal will go here. I'm like, what happens if they don't breed? What happens if that doesn't work?
Quiet you.
Oh shit. So yeah.
And back to the drawing board. No, I had this. They used to make fun of me because I had this book that pretty much
tone book
mapped out. This is the reptile radio influence on me, the ball python influence on me. Yeah, exactly. It would be the I think I still have it here somewhere.
It's one of those
the quill pen.
Yes.
Yeah. Dip. Yes. Year 29. I will breed. Like it's.
I had it all the way up to 2022. It was.
I want to say that at one. I think it was iCast. I stole it and I flipped through.
You wrote something in there or something.
Yeah, I don't remember. I cannot tell you what Drunk Owen wrote in this book. Like it just. But I imagine some things. Yeah.
I sort of I sort of like that's how I kind of mapped out how I was going to produce morphs, right? So like I would have like I wanted to make albino stuff, so I got a zebra head albino female, a caramel head albino female, a head albino female regular. I had all these head albino stuff, and then I just got an albino jag, and then I would breed, just like a ball python breeder. It was the thinking,
they set it up as like racks. It's like this is all his females, and here he is, and you kind of had that going on.
Yeah,
because then we also had the like with your stripe, you had a project for striped breadlie, and you had striped breadlie, and then you had a bunch of het striped breadlie,
Yeah.
and it was like one of those like, dude, why do you when you have I don't, and we had to do that whole thing. So
Yeah. Like, what are you doing, man?
what are you doing? Like, they're gonna get big.
You
Like,
can't do
it's
that.
not a. That's
like,
the only flaw.
What do you
with
mean
that.
in this tiny little closet of a room that I'm in? What are you talking
Oh
about?
God, that was I remember with your first place, dude. When I first met you,
Yeah.
when you and Dory were living in that
apartment, 2-bedroom
apartment, yeah, 2-bedroom apartment, and you had stacks of bins, and you'd be like, check out this snake, and you take the whole stack, and it'd be like wobble, and you'd be like, you put it down, and you go down, and like this one, I'm like, this is insane. That's a very pretty animal. Like it was, yeah.
I remember too, like I remember this is when I first met Zach Baez, right? He was sort of lived close to me, and he had seen me, I think, on the MP forum, and he sort of hit me up and said, hey man, you mind if I come by and check out your collection? I saw you have some cool carpets, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, sure. Yeah, I guess. And I guess the world was more loving place back then, and we accepted strangers into our house without,
And Eric wasn't murdered. Like it was okay. Yeah.
Well, I've come close to it a few times this week, so I don't know, man. Work's been a doozy.
Most
anyway,
violent place in Philadelphia is the supermarket.
Yeah, we'll get to that story.
Okay.
Anyway, he came over and he started looking at these snakes, and I remember him saying, like, what are you doing, man? It was funny, right? This is right when cell phones just came out, right? I was so new to taking a picture with a cell phone that if you go on my EB, I left this picture up. If you go on my EB Morelia page and you go all the way back to like 2012 in the very beginning, I was taking pictures of the snakes breeding, but there's a film over top of the camera that you take it off, like when the lens, when you get it, you take it off. I didn't take it off, and I'm like, this camera sucks.
Well, that was why we got the calendars, and you're like, they all look stupid. And I'm like,
yeah,
and you're like, oh.
Dummy. That's embarrassing, but yeah, that's kind of how it happened. Anyway, I remember seeing the MP forum.
we went and we toured a facility once. They will remain nameless, and we were told by the person who owned said facility that how could we have a show about Morelia? It would be like what, 5 or 6 episodes long, and it's like, well, we're already 3 years in at this point, dude. Like it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it was that was told to me at the very beginning many times by quite a few people, one of them being Nick Mutton.
Yeah.
Said, this is garbage, man. You ain't gonna be able to do this for as long as I mean, how can you keep talking about pythons?
Well, I mean, and also Nick put you on the path because he said you're gonna have to get your name out there because nobody's gonna want to buy a $3,000 snake from some guy named Eric Burke. Oh
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Nick was sort of like my my mentor at the time. Somehow I stumbled upon him on Reptile Radio too. I seen this guy on the forums, but he never put a picture up. Probably because at the time he was a little chunky, and now he's like, he's putting pictures.
Well, there was a picture, but it was someone getting punched in the face.
Yeah, that was his picture.
It's just like this. Is this guy just beating shit out of somebody? I'm like,
he also was probably worried
aggressive.
that somebody might track him down and kill him because there were a lot of fights on MP. So
yeah, and he's so I forget. I think I met Nick. I heard Nick on Reptile Radio, and again, he was the same way. Like, I'm just like, wow, this guy knows everything about carpet pythons. I gotta talk to this guy. Like, I mean, there's nothing he doesn't know. Oh my God, this is crazy. So I contacted him, and I was looking for a caramel jag.
Right.
Caramel jags were not in the States at the time. No, there was two
zebra jag,
no
zebra
caramel
jaguar.
jags.
Was it?
No.
Okay.
It was a caramel. This is what I contacted him on.
Okay.
I contacted him on a caramel jag. Somehow I got a caramel jag and a zebra jag. Because
whoops.
I mean, if you've ever bought a snake from Nick, you know how that goes. So I contacted him. I was like, hey, my name's Eric Burke. I want to get into carpet pythons, and I want to get the caramel gene. Can you tell me about it? Like, how do I get it? And he's like, well, it turns out that there's a shipment coming in from the UK pythons. And I was like, oh my God,
overseas.
I remember seeing his website from the MP. It's like the little links, the banners
Oh
at
yeah,
the top. You click over and it's like
you go over
all
to
these
Paul's
crazy
site and you
morphs.
dream. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, like we only had Jag and Tiger, and it's just like, whoa, they have Xanac? Whoa,
Yeah.
they have albino? Oh my God, that means you can make a snow.
Yep.
It's craziness. But so he said, yeah, I can get you the caramel Jag, and I think I spent $1,500 on that caramel Jag. $1,500 on that boy. I think you took that boy at one point.
I did.
Or female.
And it was a boy.
It a female or
it
male?
was a boy.
Yeah.
Yep. It was a boy, and I bred him several years. Yeah.
Yeah. Owen is a very smart man. He's like very reserved on getting into divorce because he knows eventually they're going to go his way.
Listen,
like here, just take these things.
Heavy lies the crown. So you don't need to be the king. You just need to be at the right hand of the king. And it's fine.
I see how you roll.
It's fine,
One of my favorite of your old Eric images, Owen, was that, and this would go back to the apartment days, is you had him as like the crazed librarian or the Harry Potter wizard wand guy who would just go flinging through these tubs with specific things in mind.
Yes. Hold on.
I told him, I said, we have to get you one of those ladders with wheels so you can be like, wait.
Yeah, like the library book,
like,
just wheel it across.
Slide across and be like, this carpet. And he pulls it. Yeah. So,
yeah. So I remember where I was when I bought that Zebra Jag. I remember exactly where I was. I was working in New Jersey at the time, and some lady was yelling at me because her shop from home delivery wasn't delivered. And at the same time, I'm like talking to Nick. So I'm talking to the lady on this hand and I'm talking to Nick on this hand. And as you know, Nick does not stop talking. So he's going on and on and on, telling me the story about the Zebra Jag. And there was this guy, blah, blah, blah. Turns out that it was Kerry King. And he's like, yeah, he kind of did it. And he backed out of this thing. And we have this extra Zebra Jag. And, oh my God, it's the latest in the two genes and they're mixed together. And, I'm not really into these cross morphs, but good gravy, this is a nice snake and blah 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 blah.
A zebra and a jag.
He's like, if you really want to be at the top end of the carpet world, you really have to like sort of get some of these things. And so I'm like, okay, how much? It was $5,000. $5,000. And I'm like, well, shit, man, let's just add some more shit onto it. And then like, come on,
what else you got?
I added a pair of caramel zebras. It was like the first pair of caramel zebras to come into the States. What else did I get? Albino Jag.
First Xanac.
Albinos.
Shit. That came later.
Yeah, I think Nick and stuff had Xanac first, but and then every year after that, for like the next 5 years, I was sending Paul like 10 gram plus, like easy every year. Like, it's funny that we joke and like I added a wing onto Paul's house.
Yeah,
I really did.
You paid off Paul's car. Yeah, that was
like, I bought that car for you, Paul. Enjoy.
That's nice. Yeah, you should have tiny plaques around the house.
Yeah,
like Eric Burke. Like it's yeah.
So then you're right. At the time, Nick is sort of like saying to me, like, well, you got all these high-end carpets. Who the hell is going to buy a snake from you? And they can buy it from Kerry King. And I was like, well, why did I buy them all then?
What the hell am I going to do?
Like, I spent a lot of money. How do I get this back? You sold me the dream, man. You told me I was going to be rich.
Oh no, the pyramid's crushing around me. Like it's
So he's like, well, you need to put your name out there. You need to do something that nobody else is doing. And I was like, aha, Carpet Python Podcast. Here we go. And Morelia Python Radio was born. So I come back I'm like, I got it, man. This is it. First of all, Nick says, what's a podcast? I was like, oh,
it's like radio, man. But not.
And then he's like, you're going to do it on Carpet Pythons? That's stupid. Just like, what?
You're running out of shit to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of how that went. That was how Nick and I, and, Nick taught me a whole lot about breeding pythons and just the whole idea of like how you basically become a snake breeder. Mm-hmm. Turns out that's not for me. So
turns out I tried it, didn't like it.
I did not like it. No. No, I didn't like that have to, hustle stuff all the time. And like, I just didn't like the whole deal of it. I'm much happier giving snakes away. Is it Nick Wonka or Willie Mutton? Yeah.
I prefer Willie Mutton. Yeah, I like that one better.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. So that's kind of how that started, and everybody knows. And Owen came along, and after my glorious solo episode,
your glorious bathroom episode.
Yeah.
It turns out it's pretty difficult to. Actually, it's not as bad as it used to be.
It's easier when you've done it a bunch of times, or at least you've done this a bunch of times.
Yeah,
you can, but also having audience interaction. But when it's the first time and somebody says talk, you're like, I got nothing. But no, for me, it was that you put up that thing on MP. And to be honest, I threw my hat in the ring expecting that you'd be like, listen, you have like 5 Morelia, and I know like Nick Mutton and, Luke Snell and various other people.
Yeah.
Shut up. Like, I was expecting that. And then you sent me the email being like, let's do it. I'd be like, I'm like, oh shit. Like, I was not.
I didn't think he was going to do it.
So yeah. And then, like I told you, for the first maybe 2 years, I was doing the whole, like, something will stop us. So we'll take a break, and then we'll never come back again, and we'll just call it a quits. So yeah,
and here we are, 3,780,000 seconds more.
Stop
later.
giving me that number. Like, it's a terrible number.
Or 43.75 days. Or 1.43 months.
God. Wow.
Can you imagine sitting at this microphone for
1 month? No.
Months?
No. But I have, apparently. Like, it's it's we've been through it. There's been times where we've said, turn in the towel. I know Owen's been there a couple times. I was there, I think, once. There were a few times where you don't. The problem is that when you do something like a podcast or a YouTube channel, or you put yourself out there, you're putting yourself out there, and there will be scrutiny. There will be people who really just don't like you for the fact that you exist near them.
Yeah.
So,
I think we got a lot. Would you say we got a lot of haters in the beginning because it's like, what do these two idiots know about breeding carpet pythons?
We got, yeah. I would say that and it's like what we talk about with going herping. Like, my biggest fear going herping with everybody is that I will not be able to contribute to the herping abilities. Like, that I'm just going to be there and I won't find anything. So it's like, I got to find something. I don't care what it is. And I keep, must find thing. And then once I find the one thing, I'm just like, I'm good. Like, I succeeded. So, so there's that where it's like, I feel like it was my first season breeding when we started. First or second, I think, my first official one.
It's mine too. My first 2012
so it was like,
was my first.
It was like, we're talking about this, and what the hell do these assholes know? Like, other people have so many other clutches under their belts. It's ridiculous. Like, I was the dumb kid who hung out at Jason Balin's table at Hamburg and had weird facial hair. Like, it was,
See, I never looked at it. I looked at it like this. We don't have to know about it because we're going to have a guest.
And they know
about it. We just have to know what to ask, like, what are we going to ask them? What, and I think being beginners, got a lot of those beginner questions there, So like, and I think of like, how the show has developed, but I mean, shit, the thing that I was most flattered by that whole thing was when Zach Loafman was like, I want to do a colubrid show, but in NPR style. I was like, well, what does that mean?
NPR style. You just have one
dude
ask
everything
questions.
That you guys do. I want the whole, like, what do you guys
smart co-host and a doofus? Like, it's
I want everything like you guys do. And like, that's, to me, that was a huge thing,
it's weird when you go to reptile shows.
And people know you by your voice.
Yeah, that will never stop being freaky. It's like, I heard you from across the room and I thought I heard you before. Like it's the other thing is that when you're at a show, I think I went to a Maryland show and people were wearing Carpet Fest t-shirts who I've never met before in my life. And they weren't Northeast Carpet Fest shirts, but they're still Carpet Fest shirts. Like it's still part of the whole thing, and it's cool. I enjoy it.
100%. I'm gonna go grab a beer, so you guys take over for a second.
Okay. Drinking on a Wednesday. What the hell has happened?
Living life, man.
Nah, all right.
No, it's all good. So, I think to the point that you guys were raising, that actually all those things fit together to make it perfect, right? Not being people who are already overwhelmed with these giant collections, or feeling like Eric just made that point, right? Where it's like, if you're sitting there with both the excitement of, getting back into it or kind of growing into it, and being in a spot where you feel comfortable or have, questions about, let's get to the fundamentals. Mm-hmm. I think that's a huge thing that we see in the podcasts that aren't successful, right? Is there's this presumption that people are already experts and they have a hard time. Maybe they think it makes them sound like they don't know what they're talking about if they ask a simple question, but it does so much for the audience, right? You have to put yourself in those shoes. Mm-hmm. And I think you guys have done that fantastic. And I think you guys also benefited from being in the same place. So you're not dealing with time zone things.
Yeah.
And so, all those factors, I think, were huge to it.
Yeah, I definitely think that was part of it. And just being able to, like you said, Eric was excited for things because he was getting back into it. And I was excited for things because everything was new. So, and I think we've both kept on to that, even as our collections have gotten bigger and we've done stuff. We've bred things, we've achieved things, we've, added things, we've subtracted things. So we still kind of kept that, where he can get excited about his Kimberly Rock monitor staring at him from across the room. And I can get excited about this weird Asian colubrid that I have over here. Like it. Yeah. So it adds to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you just had kept static the whole time, it would have been both, a cardinal sin and a miracle, right? In the sense that it would have been unbelievable compared to having, all the exposure that you get and the exposure to new things and the excitement that the people you have on have about those things definitely is going to feed your interest in trying different things. And that's really it. Is Eric, you missed some of this, but I was just saying that I thought you guys were actually in the perfect spot in terms of starting the show, because you're coming back into it. Owen is growing into it. You have, a willingness to ask new questions, and you just have that unbridled excitement associated with being new, and progressing forward.
Sure.
It's weird that it's weird. I try to think about, like, what if I was in the same headspace that I am now a couple years ago, where it's like, now I can go to a reptile show and I bet you I can find something cool on every table that I want to either like work with or like, oh man, that's really awesome. Where way back when it was like, if it's not a carpet python, I don't give a shit. Like it's just, and it's weird because I can attribute that to the podcast, also Rob and other things like that, because it's weird because I'll be like, this is the coolest thing. And Rob's like, Keith had one of those like years ago and like showed you pictures of it. You don't remember that? And I'm like, oh yeah, right. That was that. And it's like, okay. So there's that whole thing that goes on. Even then, like, again, we had rhinos in front of me and I let them go. Like, I don't understand what was wrong with me at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird how things turn around. You know?
Yeah.
How it goes. Oh man. And now there's so many reptile podcasts.
Yeah.
At this point, I think people are picking their favorite one.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the one that they listen to, like a diehard. And there's some that I couldn't keep up with listen, for a while there. I think me and Rob were both pretty
listening to everyone.
Yeah, I think we were pretty much on everyone, unless you were talking about something that really didn't interest me. I pretty much listened to everyone, and now There's no way. There's just no way.
There's just way too many.
There's not enough time,
Yeah.
So, which is good, and hopefully we've had some kind of influence on that to sort of to bring it to the line. It's the funny, like, Rob, you remember this. They did sort of a podcast type of thing on King Snake, didn't they?
Yeah, they did back in 98, 99, into something like that, maybe 2000. Yeah, I mean, it was obviously much shorter, right? And I think the principal way to actually access it was more as like a transcribed chat. I know Cameron was on there. There were a handful of them. You probably still access those, at least those transcripts of them. But that was super cool. And again, the tech didn't really exist to do it in the way, really before Blog Talk was. So the true podcast space is 06, 07, basically.
Yeah. It's King Snake that's like another website that very soon might be in the herp history kind of a thing, because I've been on it recently and I'm like, well, there's really not a lot going on here right now, but
it looks like my AOL account
from like they've not updated in a while, and the animals that are for sale on there's maybe like, I remember I used to go to the carpet page, the carpet and diamond thing for sales, and I'd be excited when it got to like 3 pages or 2 pages or something like that. I'm like, oh yeah, there's like 6 animals there. I'm like, oh, and it's weird because it's like that. If that were to go away, that's just another thing. It's like that was part of my reptile education that will be gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't spend much time on the forums of King Snake as much as I spent it on MP and the Bush League Breeders Club. I spent a lot of time on those 2 forums. Was pretty much where I called what I would call home.
I lurked on MP. I maybe post 1 or 2 things, like just pictures of some of my snakes, but
I didn't post, man.
Oh, again, exactly. Like, let's all debate this thing. I have no dog in this fight. I have no. So
the thing about MP was, and just the style of the way that the forums were, was that I just remember you would, it would be like, all right, let's say it was the tiger. There's this thread about tigers.
Right.
Somebody comes along, and I think it was Anthony Caponetto or something comes along and trying to tell everybody how tiger carpets work genetically. And, this became a whole big thing because at the time, I don't know if we didn't know about polygen. Like, I don't know if the reptile hobby was like, I don't think they only knew, recessive. And then what we called at the time codominant, which is really incomplete dominant.
Right?
That kind of thing.
Polygenic was something brand new.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a thing, right? But like, we just never talked about it as far as snakes go.
If you pull out the ad in Vivarium for the first tigers, they call them a codominant morph.
Yeah. So there was a lot of like drama that would go back and forth. But the cool thing about oh yeah, look, little dog.
It's Arnhem. Yeah. It's the medium-sized dog in the group. Oh no. Oh well. He's excited.
But you would go there and like first you would get, Anthony puts up his thing, and then you would look for when Jason was going to post up, and then Jason would come on, and then you would have, Justin
break until the West Coast guys got involved, and it was like,
Yasser would be on there, and then, a couple days would go by. But like, I remember it taught you patience, because I think this is why it's not successful today, because it's not that instant gratification, right? You would leave for work, like looking at the thread, because remember, it was only on your computer. It's not like we didn't even have a phone, so it's not like you could even look at it on your phone, so you would go on and you would see what would go, what people would say, and you're like, oh my god, and then you would go home, you come back from work, and you would just jump right onto the forum, and you're like, oh my god, there's 4 more pages, this means
this is real good.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the dingo.
Yep.
Yeah. Every form of social media for forums to come back. Yeah, I tried, man. I tried for a while to sort of kick that horse back, and nobody wanted to do it. Nobody would go there. So it's kind of like, what's the point? I give up. I fold.
Here's Eric standing in the river trying to hold the water back. It's like, no, buddy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I tried, man. I really did. I tried. I think the MVF, which is the Morelia Virtus Forum, probably held on the longest, I would say, out of the forums.
Yeah, I mean, and there was definitely a spike, and it's weird that, you know, the people who are now plugged into Morelia might have never been on the MP forums.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Those were the days, Mo, man. I you know, I don't know about you guys, but Rob, you can probably think of this too, but like, I think like I'm always like worried about learning the past, like the history from the past, that I forget about, like that we are kind of making reptile history over the past 10 years. Like the things that we experienced in real time will someday go down. Not saying us, I'm just saying like the events that happened in the time that NPR was around is like a lot of shit has happened. I mean, like look at how different the reptile hobby is today. I mean, would you guys agree? Would you say it's different? Yeah. Good or bad?
I think it's in the middle. I think there are some things that are improvements. I think that the fact that I don't have to send snakes via FedEx labeled fragile computer parts or mixed nuts or something like that is a good thing.
Yeah.
A very good thing. Do I feel like it shipping an animal, even though it still sucks? It still sucks.
Yeah.
Has gotten easier, better, and there's more care for the creature that can actually make it there alive.
Right.
Yes. That is an improvement.
Right.
Do I feel that every Yahoo that can get themselves a snapping turtle can now have a YouTube channel? Yeah. That whole thing. Or you know, anybody who wants to play with a venomous snake can now show everyone. There's a lot of that kind of stuff.
You mean you're not supposed to sit it on your arm?
You're not supposed to just lay the venomous animal on your arm and then stare at it and be like, well, it smells me different. No.
Isn't that the biggest bunch of bullshit you've
ever heard of? Like, are you like, this snake can't smell like other animals of its species for some fucking reason.
I think it was Justin that made the comment of it was Schmitty. He said, everybody, the snake cares about your smell, not the big ass gorilla that just grabbed it out of its enclosure. Like, what the hell?
It's why that is the equivalent of putting a revolver to your head and clicking like that. Why would you do that? There's no reason to do that. So there's that, and that's everywhere. So I would say certain aspects of the reptile hobby have improved. Certain aspects have gone south very quickly. And we'll see what the future holds with this one, you know, how it's going to shake out.
Okay. All right. Political answer. I get it.
I was born to be a politician.
Okay. Fair enough.
I just hate it, so I wouldn't do it. So, Rob.
Rob's like, I'm not touching that.
Pass.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Owen. It's just the capacity for overexposure, you know, which can be things that are entirely pleasant, things that are entirely unpleasant, or just that mixture of both, which is what you're talking about there, where it's like, we don't all need a platform all the time for every single thing that we do, because when you do that, then ultimately you're going to have something that you come to regret, whether you own that or not.
Yeah.
It's funny that you talk about shipping reptiles, and Rob, you'll kind of remember this, and maybe you can like clarify the story for me. But remember that guy that Reptile Radio was sort of like right behind? What was it? He was shipping snakes through UPS. And then it turned out to be complete bullshit, and he was like scamming everybody. What was that guy's name? I can't remember. Ship Reptile to You or something. I can't remember what it was. Do you remember?
Right, where he had set it up like he had the same deal with right, because it was UPS originally, right?
Yeah.
And then he's basically ruined it with UPS because of the whole deal. Yeah, that does take us back to.
That was like 2000,
probably 2010. Yeah, 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It was like it's so again, it's something that we take for granted now. But back then it wasn't a thing. So when this guy came on and announced that he's starting a company that you'll be able to ship snakes using his, basically it's kind of like what Ship Your Reptiles is, right?
Right.
You're using their account, and
you're shipping through their shipping company, and they use FedEx's backbone.
Yeah. Turns out the guy didn't have a deal with UPS though. Yeah.
UPS thinks they don't know what you're talking about. What's weird
like,
is,
wait a minute.
I remember I had to send a test package to FedEx to get permission to ship reptiles through FedEx. I sent them literally a rubber snake in a container and all sorts of stuff, and they sent me back a grade. And they're like, they went through all these things and they said what I did and they approved. I'm like, well, shit. All right. And I had to argue with the people at the FedEx hubs every time I brought a package in, because they're like, you can't do that. I'm like, yes, I can. You've given me permission to do this. But everything, I would end up label everything turtles, because if there was a snake written on the box, they'd lose their freaking mind. So it was that. God, it was just so weird.
See, Owen, you got to think even one level beyond that. Latin. So I did the same thing. No, I had stickers made up that said frogs, with the implication being, whereas the turtle, right, that seems slow. I could open this and I can fix the problem should things go sideways. Frog implies this thing might just be gone into the
Oh, nice.
And then you take in, like, at this would be going back, same spot you're talking about, but we were out pretty remote at that point. So by far the closest thing was one of the FedEx Kinko's types or UPS drop-off places or whatever. And so they accepted it well enough, but I did, bring in some, I think I brought in giant waxy monkey frogs, something that seemed, pretty neat, docile, could give him some exposure but also would convey, like, you probably don't want to open this box.
I actually got a phone call once from the FedEx Kinko store near my house, because I'd used to drop them off there. They told me to come get it because they weren't accepting live animal packages anymore. And I had to go back to the FedEx, get it, and then drive it to the hub. And that's when I just started dropping off at the hub.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
The other thing is, I remember getting my first Jag Delta Dash, going down to the airport.
Will Leary only shipped that.
Will Leary only shipped Delta Dash, baby.
Yeah.
Well, and even worse, they don't tell you that they didn't pay for the, you think you're paying it. Oh, I paid $1,000 or $1,500 shipped, and the next thing you know, you got to come up with another $75 or whatever to pay for
like,
the box.
It's $75 for handling fee. I'm like, it's right there. Just give it to me. And they're like, now we have to handle it. What? Yeah. So, God.
I wish that you could keep that, the excitement that you get when you would get, like, go back to when you opened that crate. I guess you would say it was a crate.
It was a box within a box. It was okay. So she must have been close to a year old, not even probably, but she came in a box that I'm pretty sure I could fit my adult olive python in at this point. And she came in the box, and then it had a styrofoam insert, like, the black foam, like squishy stuff. And there was a hole cut in the center, and the deli cup she was in was suspended in the center. So it was a big box. It was all this to do, and this python that's maybe this big. Like, it was like, and that was my big major thing. That was and the problem, like, you only have those firsts one time. So, like, that was your first big major shipment that you went to the airport to get.
Yeah.
And then you have I went to Tinley Park for the first time. I went down to Daytona and stuff like that. So it's all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to see Daytona in its heyday, but
neither did I. But it was still,
I still got to see it, which was cool. But I think I got to see it right when it was sort of making the comeback that it's sort of making. Like,
it's a good trip. The problem is that, and that's something I think we learned after maybe the first two times doing Tinley, it's much more fun just to go and not have any animals to sell, because then you get to do whatever the fuck you want. Like, it's just like
dinner.
Dinner, go. Like, it's but
I felt like you guys were always jealous of that at Tinley, or the best case is I had a pair of things and it's like, hey, Owen, put these rhinos out there and see how it goes. Oh, I'm going to walk away.
I'm going to walk away now. I'm going to go do stuff. Like, what? Yeah.
We would be stuck at the table and Rob would come back. Did you see XX species? And we're like,
no,
what?
we didn't. We've been here.
Oh, yeah, it's over on the table over there, whatever. And, like,
there were a couple times we were at Tinley where I'm like, if I make one more sale, those things are coming home with me. And it's
the rhinos?
Yeah, it was rhinos or it was something else too. It might have been
What
racers.
kept you held off with them for so long? Like you just
stupid reasons, probably.
Oh, okay.
Probably because probably space, probably money. You gotta remember, I tripped into the. I got.
Gee, it's not like you know a guy.
Shut up.
I think you just were unwilling to spend on anything that wasn't a Python. Like you had a Python price, and then everything else you were
everything else price
more than $50. Then no.
I was stuck in my corn snake brain, which was stupid. So, but I got my trio of rhinos from Buddy Buscemi.
Buddy, yeah.
Who probably somehow did he get his originals from you?
No, he had gotten, I think, some wild ones. I forget where his had come from, but it was so they were wild, or at least his founders, I think, were wild from one of those few years when they were coming in that way.
Cool.
And you traded him something, right?
I traded him a green tree python that he sold me.
Right.
Gave me.
Yeah.
So there was that. So now I'm sitting here and I'm like, need more rhinos. So I'm going to produce some more rhinos, and then I'm going to talk to my friends who have produced rhinos, and I'm going to try to trade some rhinos.
So that surprises me that you want more.
Yeah.
Because you're the type of guy, you're the type of breeder that is like with olive python. Well, maybe what do you want? What do you have? 1.1 at the current time?
Rhinos,
have you held back any? Or?
I have 1.1 adults and I have one male holdback from last year because he was the only baby that hatched last year, and I was like, screw it, this one's staying. So yeah,
you know what I mean? Like you're how can I say this? Like you're I don't mean it like
how do I say this and not sound like an asshole?
No.
It's
like you like that, like meaning that unless it's like doing a morph thing or something, you're sort of like, maybe you'll have a pair is good, but those snakes you particularly like, so you want more than a pair.
Yes,
right?
I do.
Okay.
So the
kind of like your roughies.
Yes. There are certain animals here because
that's when you know that Owen really likes his snake.
When I start getting more than a pair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so there's something that you guys kind of put in my head, which is the if it's just a pair, like, what are you doing? Like, you're not really trying until it's 2.2. And I'm like, God damn it, they're right. Like, it was, so that has been definitely moving forward because it so that you can give a female a break. You can possibly mix it up. If something happens and you lose an animal, you're not completely fucked for the next God knows how many years until you can replace it. I lost my female Macklot's python when I moved here 8 years ago.
God,
and I've been attempting to replace her every fucking year since.
Yeah. That's like that's like your
one day.
This shouldn't be this. You should have just let me do maternal incubation.
That's that fucking hard. Like the fact that it's a Macklot's python, like it shouldn't. This is not a goddamn Boland's python. Like it shouldn't be this fucking hard.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. What were we talking about?
This is kind of going off topic for a minute, but I want to share this while I have this up, right? So Apple brought out iPhone or iOS 16, right? It's a new operating system for the iPhone, right? And the one cool thing, I'm going to share this real quick. I don't want to play, is that if you're into
77 degrees,
right? But watch, now they have this thing where you can scroll down, and then when you
shows
click
you where to find the python.
No. When you click on the weather, look, it gives you a graph.
Is it the moon?
No, it's the temperature, you knucklehead.
Oh, okay.
See, it says temperature at the top.
I see that, but there's little moons and stuff.
Now watch. Now you can also do it with UV. So it can kind of give you, again, I know that these apps and stuff you sort of have to take with a grain of salt and all that kind of stuff. However, you can sort of like when the light cycles,
This
it does give you moon cycles
See,
too,
told you.
and humidity,
Mm.
precipitation. I don't know. Like, I guess if you're
So it's
sort
just-
of like looking,
Now we have several
See what I
apps
mean?
to look on and be pissed off when we're herping and we can't find snakes. Everything is perfect. All the apps say it's fine.
yeah. And then that one is pressure. So if a pressure, you can see like if your snakes were breeding when that pressure dropped or whatever. I don't know.
I
I
love
used to
how
use that stuff.
Whenever I catch a lock, I'm never looking at apps and being like, what's going on? What are the temperatures? What's the exact pressure? I'm just like, cool. Like,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Me and you are different.
It's the
Owen.
difference
I get
between
it.
you and I. You'd be sitting
Yeah.
there writing a whole book, and I'd be like, picture whiteness.
See, I am not as intellectually gifted as you to where the stuff just happens in my brain. I have to work for my little tidbits of knowledge.
I live my entire life by the blind squirrel will eventually find the acorn. Okay, so
Okay.
Busted clocks right twice. What did we say? You had the squirrels in the book, and I was constantly trying to nail Jello to the wall. So that was
pretty much
are the differences between you and I. Yeah.
And you were always on about skinning cats.
Yeah, there's always several different ways to skin a cat. So many ways.
I think this is the picture that Owen. I think this is the picture that Owen made fun
Referenced.
of you. Wait.
Hold on. Keep talking so there's not dead air.
That was me and my Toneman book.
Every
I don't
time you
think
talk,
it's quite the
every time you
picture.
talked about it, I would just be like, "Whoop!" Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. I think
That's almost as good as maternal incubation success, maternal incubation failure.
That's my favorite. Here we go. Wait. Oh shit! I thought that was a good. Wait, hold on. Yeah.
I think there was one we actually had a Jello mold that was filled with nails and was up against a wall and be like, success. So
yeah. 4.7 years.
7 years ago. Dip. There's always, and that's when I'll take the female Axanthic, dip, and breed it to the albino, dip, and make, yeah.
Oh, geez, this guy kind of looks like my grandfather. Kind of. Wait.
God. Yep, there you go. Even better.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Oh, I got a deal. I'm unlocking some
discount.
savings.
Yeah.
All right. Good podcast stuff.
Yep.
Excellent. Anyway, that is Eric's Future Writing, the 1000th episode.
1000th episode. I'm not sure if we can. I'm not sure if we're going to have 500 more episodes in us, but we'll see. So,
that's another 10 years.
Oh my God. I'll be close to 50.
I'll be almost 60.
Oh.
I'll be 58. Oh, good God.
I'll be 46. Yeah. You know how bad it is that I went from being like the young whippersnapper in Morelia to like, the old guy now?
The old guy. You're the old guy now. Yeah. Yeah. So, Owen.
Yes.
What do you equate the secret to make it to episode 500 for you when most reptiles podcast get pod fade and fade out? Like besides me.
Besides you, besides Rob, besides everybody losing their minds when we didn't have a recording in the first like year or two, I would say just the main point was being consistent in the early years. If you weren't consistent in the early years, very easily I could have seen us dropping off.
Yeah.
If we didn't consistently churn out stuff and we didn't have people who were willing to come on and be guests and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it was that whole thing. And I also think it was part luck, part a bunch of the stuff, because there's a lot of different ways this could have broken.
Time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different ways this could have broken. A lot of different ways that, it could have been not you and I. It could have been you and somebody else. It could have been just you for a couple episodes.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how there's so many different ways that it could have gone, is what I'm saying. So, yeah.
Okay. I thought you were going to give me some. So it's just keep going, right?
Keep
just
pushing.
It's super easy, man. It's super easy.
No, it's not. That's the problem. Is that you have to. You remember the first couple of years we were giving up my Saturdays, and I'm like, we got to change this up. Like I'm 20 something, and we can't keep doing this.
Yes, you're killing me, man.
Yeah, and we had to. There have been a couple times where, I've had stuff that I've had to pass on because we have to report it. We have to record an episode.
Yeah,
it's you got to also prioritize it. And sometimes, and a lot of people wouldn't do that, and I think that's where they drop off. We've had numerous times where there was a podcast coming up and or was just starting, or a podcast that calls us out because we were Morelia people as opposed to, like, I don't know, ball python people, and then they just drop by the wayside. It just it comes and it goes.
It was always interesting when you would get that the new podcast that would come along, guns ablazing. Like we're gonna conquer the world, and
we're gonna do everything, and fuck you, Morelia guys.
It's sort of like the thing that it can get irritating with the person that it's not that you're constantly changing species, but it's like you're sort of putting yourself out there as the person that is the cornerstone of this species' success and captivity, and then like 2 weeks later you're selling them like that. They just weren't for me.
And that's the thing where I think in reptiles in general, burnout is something that can very easily happen. If you jump into it, and there have been numerous people that said that they're going to be the top breeder of Morelia, and they're going to buy everything. And I want a pair of animals from every top person on the forums. That was the big thing, is people be like, I want an animal from every one of the top breeders on the forum. And I'm like, that's weird. They all don't work with the same shit. Like, and that's just going to be whatever. So people would do that. They'd spend a ridiculous amount of money on snakes and cages and computer systems and all this stuff. And then something would happen. Either they'd realize that they have 5 more years before any of the animals that they've just purchased are going to breed for them, or something happens and a high value animal dies.
Right.
And then they just bail. And then the next thing you see, all their animals have been sold in one bulk thing to somebody, and somebody's selling their cages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that still happens. So I think you could totally do that with a podcast. You jump on, you spend a shit ton of money on a microphone and headphones and t-shirts emblazoned with your podcast logo and a whole bunch of this other crap. And you're going to sit here, and then the YouTube money's going to come rolling in, baby. And then nothing happens. And
I was looking at our original logo.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Back in the day. Oh, man. I was
my original logo. That thing was trash. Thank God Zach came along.
Remember it. Oh, you had the red. It looked like the elephant.
No, let's not speak of it. We don't need to. We don't need to revisit.
Yeah, I forgot.
The good thing is it's dead. Okay. And now we've got the flag, and we got the flag forever. Thank you very much.
Oh God, look how terrible that is.
It's all grainy and blocky.
Yeah, it's so terrible. Oh, it's terrible.
Yes. Yes.
That was
we were so proud of that Photoshop job,
dude,
too.
We were pumped about that, man. It's like, dude, that's so awesome.
Was it?
That's terrible. That was about as good as our audio was back then.
I know. And then we had the other one with the little tower. Yeah,
I'm gonna pull that one.
That one was for a while.
Then we graduated, and Andrew Paris did this one for us. We went to that.
Yes, yeah, that one. That one we had for a while.
IJ's versus Jungles theme.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, and
that's the one that's on the t-shirts that I have, I think, still.
Yeah.
They're up on the wall.
What was that? Oh no, it's the Carpet Fest original logo.
Carpet Fest with the albino with what?
Oh no, not that
Balin called the dick skin tan. Yeah, thank you, Jason. The original. Look at it.
That's the OG.
2012.
Yeah, man.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah. So long ago.
God, I'm old.
Yeah. Welcome to the club. So this question I'll start answering, and then you guys can answer after me. What is the biggest thing that you've learned over the 500 episodes? So for me, number one is that, you know, the idea of having a care sheet and it applying to everywhere in the world as some way to sort of keep a carpet python was a terrible way to learn. I mean, it's a good base, but like, I think what I've learned over it from talking to people from all around the world is that there's certain parameters that have to be met for a species to be kept in captivity.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to figure out how to meet those, you know, specifications to make them happy. Right. So, right. You know, Rob and me, we talk about it all the time. His humidity is like -2. Our humidity is like 87%.
His pressure is,
it's going to make a difference on everything that we do, from keeping the snake to the eggs, how we incubate the eggs, whether we're going to have success with maternal incubation. You know, a lot of times people will say to me like, well, how do you do maternal incubation? Well, it's super simple, man. You just let the snake do it and
put the mom in your eggs.
Like, what do you mean? And it's like, I forget to take into account that, you know, my room is already at, you know, 87% humidity. So I really don't have to worry about that. Whereas, you know, somebody out west like Rob or whatever, they might have to compensate for that somehow. And, you know, that's a big thing that I learned. And then the other thing that I learned is like, when you think that Rob has taught me this over the years, is that when you think you say that nobody or no one or absolutely never happened, or you're probably wrong, because there is somebody somewhere that it did it. Like, you know, I remember Garrett Hartle was on, and he was saying about Okatee corn snakes. And when he was talking about them at the end of the show, I don't know about you, Owen, I can't believe you didn't say anything, because I'm sitting there going like, aren't Okatee corn snakes kind of a thing? Like, I don't know. He's like, nobody has the Okatee corn snakes everywhere. They're gone. They've disappeared from the hobby. So I bought them up, and now I'm going to conquer the world with Okatee.
Sell them with this much money.
I sort of had 2 of them in the other room. I
got Okatee corn snakes. Like, it's, I don't know.
So right, like, that was one where it was like, okay, maybe it's a reference to a particular lineage or whatever. Right. But even then, I think it's probably a narrow focus, you know, just in the sense of like, I'm sure there definitely are old time folks that are not visible on social media, which is, again, like anytime you'd frame it, like in this particular example, right? The only thing you can know is the people that are out there putting out that content, making it visible. So maybe that lineage has gone amongst those people. But especially in that particular context, it was super easy to say, yeah, there are plenty of people that we don't have visibility into, but maybe you happen to know, or we somehow, you know, you're a degree of separation from that person who's never online. And it's like, oh, well, that's actually not the case. You can be excited about it, but it doesn't mean you're the only person.
But then the argument fell apart too, because it's like, well, did you go to Okatee? Like, did you collect these from the wild? No, you got them from a breeder. Like, and what makes you think you're the only guy? Like, yeah, there was a lot of that. So.
Yeah, so, and that's certainly its own, right? That opens its own can of worms on the story and the value we place on the story. And sometimes that is additive, but other times you wind up, you know, it's used solely as a negative to what other people are doing. And that's the part that, you know, we really can't abide or can't stand for, is where it's, you know, used to rip down what someone else is doing, when just as easily yours fits into the box of, okay, you're just saying you trust the person that told you your story. That's the entirety of the additional narrative we have. You know, the additional proofs that
you believe the guy that told you this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what it always kind of comes down to, which has kind of like changed my whole perception of, you know, the whole pure versus crawl. Well, not, you know, wild type pure, you know what I mean? Like that whole idea of stuff, but I digress. Who's going to go next? What about you?
So what I've learned in the 500 episodes would be to be patient. There have been
You've
numerous
taught that lesson many times.
many
my
times,
friend.
many times. I would say it's one of those things where there are several animals that I wish I could have back. And I know I sold them either out of frustration or because money was tight or something like that. And I've had to rebuild projects because I was so nearsighted.
Mhm.
I would also say that it took me a while to learn that I'm my best customer and that I need to hold back animals to build my own stock. Because I think if you're persistent and you stick to your guns and you kind of grind with it,
Yeah.
eventually you will have success with
Mhm.
what's the species you're working on. And
Yep.
you know, dude, I could never breed white lips again. I could never get another clutch of white lips ever again. Doesn't matter. I got one. Like I got it. So yeah,
I'm sure you'll get another.
goddamn right I will, because I'm not going to stop.
I'm sure
I'm
you'll
not
get
going to
another.
stop. Next is Blackface
At our
and
next
Timors.
500th episode or our
Goddamn
1000th
right.
episode, you
Then
will be,
I'm going to keep ticking them off till the only thing I got is Owen Pelly pythons. Then we'll figure it out.
Oh, that would be cool.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah. That's when we can retire, Owen.
Yeah, when
we
Owen
both
Pelly
have Owen
pythons are
Pelly
available.
python.
Yeah. When that happens,
When
done.
we have completed the set, you can retire.
Well, and that's the thing. I keep thinking about
when we're going to be in Australia in about 99
that.
days.
You're going to do that.
Won't.
I'm not. I keep thinking about in my head is that I have all these weird projects that I'm trying to grind at and get to breed, whether it be water pythons, Vietnamese blue beauties, Timors, this, that, and the other thing. I don't have a real Morelia project that I've not ticked off in the room, you know?
Okay.
So like, yeah, I'm trying to get the albino to breed with the het, and that'll be new is hatching albinos, but there's not the inland. There's not the diamond. There's not the, I've never ventured into this. We still have the rough scale. So
we can change that.
Now, like I said, I'm holding tight, but if I get the roughies to go, I will have no new Morelia grounds, no new Morelia to explore, where that's very dangerous. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave that out there.
I don't think we've taught you anything, Rob. I think you've taught us.
I don't think a damn thing. Not a damn thing.
Well, I think you guys have, you have taught me or shown me, right? The illustration, I think it's just so incredible, is, going to the point of why you two are a perfect fit is the ability to do something over and over and over when, and to do it when it's hard, right? When the easy thing would be to say, hey, I've got this going, or I'm not feeling it because of my, circumstances, to the point that you made, right? I think doing this in the way that you have is probably both, at times it's fostered exhaustion and burnout. At the same time, I'm sure it's pulled you through, right? Where if you didn't have the impetus that, no, I'm not giving up this thing as well, that week to week, kept you coming back, just as a stabilizing force that I'm sure has been huge. But I think it's incredibly impressive. I think you're both right, and I think it's why you're a perfect fit and what is so rare about this.
There have been a couple episodes that it was just a me and Eric episode that, you try not to put out what's going on. You just try to, have a good show and also this stuff. There have been a couple of those where those definitely saved me from burning out, scrapping the whole collection, selling everything. I'm done. I'm out, because reptile as a breeder, it's a roller coaster. Like we said that every year, your breeding season is wonderful highs followed by gut-wrenching lows. Like it is, it all depends on where you are on the mountain. And that happens. So having something, and I know that we've talked about it before, where every once in a while you just got to be in the backyard with all your reptile friends and a couple beers and a grill to kind of get yourself recharged and get back into it. Sometimes for me, it's just having a conversation with a friend of mine about these freaking animals that we're somehow devoted most of our lives to. So to get you plugged in.
Yeah. It can be quite a, I mean, basically we've been, over the past couple of months. It's like the past month has been a little rocky. We've always delivered, whether it was late or not. We've always delivered an episode. However, you know, if I'm being honest, there was a little bit of a little bit of a cushion to say now that there's other podcasts on the network. So to say like if we're gonna miss an episode because when we were on a herping trip or something like that, you know, there's plenty of content to listen to that, whereas back in the day there was only us and maybe two other, maybe three.
People used to. I remember we used to have like
so they used to freak out because
my God, something bad would happen on Tuesday, and we'd have to apologize to everybody who would listen live, and then on Wednesday. 10 a.m. I'm like something's happening and people are like, where's NPR? I'm like, God damn it. Like, used to have to announce that there will be no episode this week. Calm down.
I know the feeling.
Fine.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling of being, I think this is like, actually listening to podcasts has helped me to be a better podcast host because I know those pitfalls of what the listener is like expecting this episode to be in their inbox on this day. And when it's not, you're disappointed, man. You're like, what the hell am I going to listen to now?
Yeah.
Because you build routines around what you're listening to in the podcast, whether it's driving to and from work. I mean, God, remember I was driving an hour and a half to work.
True,
Joe Rogan got me through that. And, otherwise it would have been horrible. It just would have been terrible. So I'm not listening to myself.
People used to get mad when the show was under 3 hours because they had a long drive or something like that. And we're like, sorry. Like we used to do those like 3 hours. Eventually, was Blog Talk was eventually like, all right, that's enough. And it would just cut us off.
It would just cut you off.
Stop.
And then there would be some shows where it would say it stopped, but it didn't. And then it's putting it out there as an extra 15 or 20 minutes. And it's like, wow, I'm really glad we didn't say anything crazy there.
If only we were smart, dude.
The Seinfeld episode where he's driving the car down the road and he's like out of gas or whatever. And he's like going to pull off and he's like, no, keep going. We just keep going.
What's funny is like, if we were smart, like those 4-hour episodes could have been like so-and-so part 1 and part 2. Like, what is wrong with us? We could have easily gotten to 500 episodes a while ago.
Yeah.
That's actually super funny. I know Eric's brought this up in the context of Reptile Radio, is going back and listening to it now, is how short those were. And that the first half of the episode was just sort of the chit chat. And so that like the substantive interview part, in some instances, we're talking 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think Rob had pointed this out to me. You wonder why, like a lot of times we might not talk about legislation at the beginning of the show, right? And there's a reason for that because, we started to do it as a separate show. Like there was a couple times where there was like some real heat that was coming on the reptile hobby, similar to now. I think around probably in the early days, we ended up doing a separate show. I think there was a separate show that was done on a different day for David Means to come on and talk about some kind of Virginia band that they were doing at some point.
Yeah.
And he was involved in that and he wanted to come on and promote it. But like the thing of it is like when you go back and you listen to those Reptile Radio archives and you got, I think it was supposed to be Terry Phillip was the one show. And he was supposed to talk about rough scale pythons. And the first like 40 minutes of the show was just, what was that guy's name? What was
Andrew Wyatt.
Yeah, that was it. Just him rambling on about nonsense. And it's like, come on, man. I want to hear about rough scales. Like,
nobody's, that's the thing is like, we try to cut it up. Nobody's here to listen to us. We have episodes where it's just us. God damn it. Like if we have a guest, it's because we want to hear from the guest.
Yeah.
So when it makes some time capsules in a bad way, right?
Yes.
I mean, the time capsule in a good way is when you're talking about, you spent X, wow, the excitement of getting X, Y combination or just whatever animal it was. And this was the price. And now I wanted to make the joke, and you still get $1,500 for those caramel jags, right? This sort of thing. But it's that sort of thing is like, that's God, fun time capsule, you know, that's enjoyable to listen to that. And with this foreknowledge that we now have, listening to doom and gloom, not saying if justified or not, this is not a qualification on that, but I mean, honestly, that stuff is terrible podcast content. I mean, it might be necessary. You can argue that it's necessary, and I probably there are certain instances where it's fine. I'll accept that, but it's terrible podcast content, and that does not age well.
No.
Whereas the talking about like, hey, this is what I'm excited about, and it's something that nowadays you've seen X, 1,000 of those or whatever, you wouldn't even look twice at it or whatever. That can be super fun, because that's it, born of excitement, not fear and anxiety. I don't need to hear our anxiety from 10 years ago, man. That's not fun.
Yeah.
Well, I got enough fear and anxiety turning around my head already. I don't need that. Like there's, you have to still be excited. Otherwise, what the hell's the point of doing this? This isn't easy. None of this is easy.
I think people have this idea that, that it is.
Mm-mm.
And I guess to a certain extent, like if you're just going to show up and just kind of bring it, then, I guess it is kind of easy, but if you're like really like going and like we've done over the year, I mean, Rob has always helped me search out some of the most sought after guests, and sometimes we fucking shit the bunk and sometimes we hit it out of the park. That's just how it goes.
There's several episodes I wish we could have back, but we'll never get them back. So we're just gonna have
and even some of those, it's fun. I know what you're thinking.
No,
particular instances, I know, but there are some. Even that is fun. When viewed through the right lens in the right mood, that can be super fun. Maybe at not even at your at your expense, at my expense, at Eric's expense, whatever. No, it's just the enjoyment of like, man, we looked a lot younger 10 years ago, or we, whatever we were saying, whatever, all that stuff. That's super exciting, and can be fun. So I think there's a ton there.
Yeah. The clip show. I always love the clip show. The crazy things we say. I've said over the years.
Oh God, what was the one where it was like, and what do you think, Nick? And it was like train whistle, and I'm like, okay, moving on.
I mean, you can't even make that up. And then for that to be in the context of the episode immediately, Eric's trying to fix his ticket before we went for the first time.
Right.
It doesn't get any better than there.
Yeah. 100%.
Dumb. It's just so dumb.
So
many.
Yeah, man. It's hard to sort of think about all the. Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess one of these days I'm going to have to go through and just look through the archives again and sort of see what it is. Because if you look on if you look on any podcast app, it's not even going to have the Blog Talk stuff on.
It's not going to go full back all the way.
No. You have to go. And that's another thing. It costs money to do this. And I appreciate everybody that, supports us in any way, even if it's just sharing episodes or whatever. It's like to keep that content. This is another pet peeve of Rob's and mine too, right? We had that Herp Nation Radio, which was excellent. Nick was on it, Vin Russo was on it, had great podcasts on it. And I was like, this is gonna be the one that puts the nail in our coffin.
Yeah, the one that takes us off
with these guys. Like, oh shit, but we held our own, man. We held it, right? And they wanted us to join at one point. Yep. And I remember thinking we all talked about it, and
we went back and forth for a little bit on that one.
Should we do it? And we're like, yeah, I mean, Nick's over there, Vin Russo's over there, maybe we should do it, and then we decided to do our own thing and keep it pushing. Yeah. And it turns out that they kind of folded, and the content's gone. Yeah. It's all gone. All those episodes, all that content that all those guys did, and put all that work into doing those episodes. It's all disappeared because they didn't want to keep it going. And I think the whole idea of why we do this is so that there's an archives that people can look back to. And if they have a question or God forbid, like I think of, the episode we did with Rico Walder, who's no longer here. You can go back and you can listen to that. That's immortalized now. Like you can, you can hear us having a conversation with them. And I don't know, man.
The idea is that if you were to get involved with a certain species, that hopefully we've done interviews with somebody who is one of the larger caretakers of that species, whether it be one of the first people to propagate them or just a large breeder of that species. And then it can help you learn to be a better breeder or a better reptile keeper. And then maybe you dip into a species you never thought you'd dip into. So that's the whole point. That's what I want the archive to be. And eventually one day down the road, we'll find a way that it'll just, all the episodes will be there somewhere. Maybe when we're going to finally close it out, we'll figure it out. But we'll sell DVDs of the entire, the box set of NPR. It'll come in like,
Right, you got to start. We could do like seasons of USBs with given seasons on them, something like that. I think, I think that is the next avenue that we need to explore here.
I like it. That and the T-shirts with random quotes from episodes on them. Yeah,
like I don't play with animals that
fall apart. I don't. I do not. That is 100% true.
That is such a classic Owen quote, man. That is so good.
I'm telling you, just put that on a T-shirt and have a gecko with a tail, like over here.
Dory's sitting at the computer, right? And she's like, I don't play with animals that fall apart. What the hell does that mean? It's like, that
means what it says.
Oh, man.
God.
Just keep it safe. Yeah, I think, has saved the lives of many conjurers I've kept. Yeah. Terry Phillip, he really doesn't do that anymore. He doesn't do podcasts anymore.
When I first started breeding,
awesome it was to talk to him.
That was so cool. I mean, the first time I started breeding, I had a breeding care sheet that Anthony Campanetto wrote on his website, and I studied that and I kind of made it my own. So the whole point is that everybody who listens has something that they can refer to if they need it. How many years, like we ask people every year and they were like, oh, do a breeding episode. Like, again, like, okay. But, and that's just there. It's always something that people can kind of grab.
That surprises me. I can't tell you how many people message me. And so this just tells me that we continue. Well, I can see it in the numbers that the show continues to grow over the years. Right. But like, the thing about it is you have these new people that come in. And I think about myself, right? I think about myself as a podcast listener. Like recently I've gotten into plants, right? Or hiking, right? Things like that. So where I'm going and I'm listening to a podcast about these topics, but I'm listening to whatever their newest episode is, and then maybe I'll flip through the archives to see like whatever's on the list to see if there's something that stands out to me, or I would have Googled that topic and it would have taken me to that show. And I would have listened to that show, but I'm not necessarily, I'll pick it up from there and then go forward. And then I guess if they didn't have a show or something, maybe I'll go back and listen to the older episodes or something. But I think maybe what's made it difficult with us is that we're constantly putting out a new show.
Yeah.
So that, there's not a lot of, especially now with all the content that's out there, it's hard to go back and listen to those archives unless it's specifically what you're looking for.
So what I listen to my stuff on Overcast to podcasting, and the oldest episode you can get on Overcast is March 2015. It's the Constrictor Ban episode.
Oh,
yeah,
that's that extra one that we were just literally talking about.
And then after that, it's Tinley Park Review and what happens to the Morelia world. A couple of highlights on here. Then Lon's on. Then we have Jay McClure on. Then, oh, look at that. Nick Mutton's back. Inland Carpets with Tim Tyndall.
Oh, that was a good one.
Derek Roddy is back. Scrub Python Talk. Oh, Eric and Owen pre-Carpet Fest. Look back on Carpet Fest.
So many issues about Carpet.
So it's just wrong. Matt Minatola, Nick Mutton, and Paul Harris is in June 2015.
Was that an actual, the one that actually went up?
Yeah.
No. Paul never showed up.
Nope.
It was just a Nick Mutton.
So the funny thing to me about all these, Owen, is that all of these we have definitely still done these as clips. So I've definitely listened to all of these intently, pulled all this stuff. So the good news is we still have a little bit more time. I think we really got to work with the interns to, that project is an intensive project. So maybe we can split it up across people, but we need to get back into the swing of doing that. But heck, we can still get it on the podcast app, which is good. So
yep. 100%. Justin Julander, the 4-year anniversary show.
4.
Another Tinley Park recap. Oh,
Well, the
God.
anniversary show seems to always fall around when Tinley Park would be. Yeah.
Yep, there's the Bull and I roundtable. That was hell.
I wonder if that was the one with
that was the one where you were.
Evan and
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was.
all them.
Oh God, I
People
wanted
falling
to slip,
asleep
I
overnight.
wanted to slip my wrists. Oh my God, I wanted to die.
Yeah.
There's Keith McPeak on January 12th, 2016. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That goes back that far. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Keith went back that far.
White Lip Breeding with Ryan in February 2016.
Ryan Young.
Yep. Mike Cross, Scott Eiper, Venomous Snakes, March 2016.
So the funny thing about that episode is that it originally uploaded at 1.5 speed. And so when I downloaded it and listened to it that week, it literally played as though Scott was not breathing and he was just continually talking the whole time. And I listened, and it was still 2.5 hours or whatever. It still came through at some incredible length, and I was just like, wow, he just didn't stop talking to even breathe. It was the inward singing from Tenacious D 25 years ago.
There were several times where we would finish the episode, we'd be done, and then Wednesday on that like chat with like you, me, and Eric, it would be like, Eric, you want to pull the episode? What? You did this or forgot to do this? Oh,
Yeah.
Yep.
Often it was just because you had highlighted it, right? You had said it would be like, oh, I'm going to take this out. If you didn't say anything, then it's actually not a problem, but it's just highlighting that fact. But yeah, early days, I mean, there was no editing. It was what it was.
It just was what it was. Yeah, man. It was live. It was like really live.
NPR. Keith McHugh comes back for a second one. Yeah, all right. There's a lot of good episodes here. Dan Maliri. All right.
Yeah, we talked to him a few times.
Yeah, we're in September of 2016. The 5-year anniversary show with Rob Stone.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Yeah. If you want to listen to, so for people that are listening now, if you want to go back and you want to see the archives, you're not going to find it on the podcast app. You kind of have to go to Blog Talk Radio, Blog Talk Radio /MoreliaPythonRadio.com. I think it's like that, something like that. And I'll take you to those early episodes from like 2011 and 2012. Like I think Richard said it. It has the very first episode, which is just, I keep that up to keep myself humble. If we're gonna keep Owen's Scrub episode up,
thank you.
Thank
you. God, but
Dr. Ross was my favorite too, probably one of my favorites. That was like amazing to talk to that guy that wrote the book, or he did write it with somebody else.
And that's the thing is, I
don't
can't
want to pull a Justin Nick thing where I'm not giving one credit.
I can't wait till we get to the point, like, because I really enjoy the episodes where we're talking to like Ron St. Pierre and like some of the older guys who were like, and they talk about like herping trips and this, that, and the other thing. I really love talking, and like Dr. Ross, where it's like, I don't know, I put 2 white lips in a box in my basement. It's like, what? So like, it's funny as hell to listen to that back time and be like, this is how they used to do it, or this is how that happened. I can't wait till eventually somebody's listening to this and they're like, that's how they used to do it, or like these idiots. I love it. I love that kind of stuff.
I know, it's like, people used to give a shit, man, for our sound back in the day, and I'd be like,
we were doing the best we could, goddamn.
I don't know how to do this shit. I'm learning on the fly, man. This is the only way to do it.
We were calling, like, I had a phone. I think at one point,
I had one of those $20 headset things.
God. Yeah. Oh, there was the one where we were announcing the NPR magazine, and I totally forgot that we were doing this. And I was at a bar, and I just happened to actually start getting the flu. So I was literally in the parking lot, and you're like, let's talk about the magazine. I'm like, sure, mute, vomit.
I remember that.
Turn back on.
That was great.
Yeah, it's good. Like, and I'm like, I have a fever. And I think eventually I'm just like, hang up. Like, it was just like,
it was just gone. Yeah.
It was just gone. I couldn't do it.
Shit, man. Rob Rob was bringing up the episode with Cameron. I mean, we got
Yeah.
Cameron from Bushmaster Reptiles.
That was cool.
Well, that was all Rob. Rob made that happen.
He was talking about he's like he had to go to the island, and he's like, and then the boat maybe
Priceless,
will arrive
man.
in 3 days.
Priceless. Which is why we got to get chopping on the herp history thing, man. We gotta start making that happen, because that's
it's just so cool, to get, and it's different, right? To a lot of this stuff,
Yeah,
it's a lot.
You brought up earlier. I was just gonna say real quick that talking about now skipping weeks and we have stuff and all. I think the good news is that the infrastructure is such with all this stuff that you can't, not doing a show a week isn't going to mean the show goes away in the way it would have a decade ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The monster has become sufficiently large that you can't get away that easily.
Listen, if we don't record once a week, I quit. Okay, that's just how it goes. I'm always looking for that out. So
Yeah, I mean, I've always had this idea that again, it's so funny how Reptile Radio has influenced my just my thoughts on how to bring a podcast to the world, right? But I remember the episode where they had Jeff Ronnie on, and they talked to Jeff Ronnie, and he's like this crazy boa breeder, man, and they didn't talk, they missed so much, not because they did it on purpose, just because they really weren't familiar with, they didn't do their research, I suppose. And, I don't think that Larry and BT at the time sort of looked at it as they were, trying to dive in and research that kind of stuff. They would ask, simple questions or whatever. But the listeners were kind of upset because it's you got this, amazing guest, and you're not asking the right questions. What are you doing? What is wrong with you? And people were in revolt. And,
well, and this was immediately on the heel, either preceding or on the heels of them having they brought on a guy to talk about African house snakes and kind of engage this entire show in a normative way. And then they're like, oh, so how many times have you bred them? Well, never.
Right. Exactly.
Oh.
And they didn't very obviously didn't know that. It was they had the this way after having talked to him for half hour, 45 minutes or whatever, and it was just
right.
It was maybe you guys are kind of fading out at this point.
And I made it this is sort of where the idea for the network came. It's well, if I can't talk about whether it's boas or monitors or whatever, pick the colubrids, all these different things in the reptile hobby, because I've been so focused for so long that I wanted somebody else to do it. I still wanted to get the content out there, and then it wasn't until I stumbled upon this transistor thing to where you could have one account and have as many podcasts coming off of that as you can. I was like, well, this is the best.
What was the turtle hat that Rob had that he took to everything constantly?
Right there, man.
I can't read it. It's just what, Slow Ride or something like that, or
Slow Jam.
Slow Jam. That's the name of the turtle podcast when we eventually find people to host it.
So we got a question here. Has NPR ever had an episode with Candoya specialist as a premise? So I think we talked to Nick about Candoya, but I don't think there was ever a specific
episode.
So, and Josh Parker worked with them quite a bit. Josh had actually done, to this point, a Herp Nation show with Vin on Candoya. And his experience was principally with Paulsoni, the Solomon Island ground boas. Nick has talked about a variety of species in 10 to 15 minute chunks, I think 2 or 3 times. But there aren't that many of those people. I guess, I'm not looking at the chat. The question would be who that person would be, and we could chat about it.
I think that that might be a boa episode in the future, maybe, perhaps. Luckily,
I think so.
Some guys.
Maybe some people in that. Again, the part of the question would be I'd be curious who that person is, because for the most part it's split across different species. I have Australis, Jeff has Australis. There are certainly a handful of people that do. Shane had some or does still have some, but you know, there are a handful more. Stan Grumbeck, who we had on the show with Matt, does Viper boas. Paul Sinai, there's a few more people that we could add in, but there aren't that many people that kind of do the completist thing in the way that a lot of Morelia has done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were interested in Carinata and Paul Sinai.
I'm going to.
So Paul Sinai is more doable. Carinata, we could talk to Nick about it a little bit, you know, but that's just a tough thing. There are not that many. I've had them. Nick has had a handful, probably still has a handful. Ryan's had a handful.
I think that's the other thing that a lot of listeners might not understand, and you know, other people that do podcasts would. But like, just because you think that a guest is going to be the perfect guest, and you think like, oh, they're going to want to talk about this, who wouldn't want to talk about this?
Sometimes they tell us not to bring that up before we get on the show.
Well, not only that, not even that. I'm talking about they won't even do the show.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I'm thinking of like Tom Keoghan. How awesome would it have been to talk to Tom?
Yeah,
Keoghan.
that would have been fun.
Casey Lazick. I asked him like in 2014 if he wanted to come on the show.
People constantly ask us
why
we didn't have Tracy Barker on several times.
The Barkers is another one. I've asked her, oh God, I can't tell you how many times, maybe 5 to 6 times, and I don't even get an answer back. So
we don't badger people. Like if we ask, that's it. We might ask a couple times. We might ask again if somebody who knows them tells us to ask again. But like if you say you don't want to come on, that's it. Okay.
Yeah,
right. And happy to engage in like why it makes sense or what it entails. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to beg you to do it. You know, we don't.
I think it was
not going to beg you to do it, man.
It was even harder back in the day because number one, nobody really knew what a podcast was that were like the reptile, you know, because you think about it, right? Most of the people that were keeping reptiles at the time were probably in their 30s. Some of them, you know, were in their 40s, and now they're in their 50s and 60s. And like they you would say like, that's why I called it Morelia Python Radio and not Morelia Python Podcast. It was just like, because I wanted it to be more familiar to those older guests that would be coming on.
Doesn't scare the oldies,
as opposed to a podcast. Like, what's a podcast? What are you talking about? This is getting crazy. I can't run around with you youngsters.
You've captured my soul. Yeah, it's.
But I don't know. We're at 2 hours. I don't know. I guess we've kind of rambled on enough.
I think we've rambled on for about.
Man, half hour too much.
500 episodes.
A month and a half too long.
Yeah, I think we've done quite a bit of rambling.
I couldn't wait to tell Owen this stat just because of the number. The 3,780,000 seconds that we've spent together is we've had enough.
That's something on the t-shirt. You just put down that number and be like, time I'll never get back. Like it's
yeah. So
and counting.
Yeah, right. So again, thank you to all the listeners out there that have been with us on this journey. Some from the very beginning, some have just recently joined us. Either way, all are welcome. We're just trying to put our positive take on the hobby, you know. I mean, just trying to make it as best we can, because I don't know, I really dig these animals, and whether I'm keeping them or herping them or breeding them, reading about them, it's kind of my jam. So hopefully, provided that me and Owen don't have some kind of crazy accident when we're in the Kimberly.
Helicopter crash takes us both out, and then that's it. It's the end of NPR, kids.
Mark O'Shea might be telling a story about us someday. Who knows? We just appreciate everybody and all the support, and I don't know what else to say, but thanks. So, and all the people that came on the show, thanks to them as well.
Yeah. So that's it. I guess that's all we. You want to run through the list?
No, you know what?
No,
list.
they
on
got
this
it. No
500
list today?
episode.
All right.
If you don't know it by now, you don't know
What
it,
the
you
fuck
know?
have you been doing this whole time? I
Just go to the
understand.
episode,
There's no reason for
NPR.
us to talk about the
Go down to the
Patreon, the
show
Teespring
notes.
store, all the
Click all the
Instagram and other
things.
things. Just click
It'll
links.
take you
It's
to the
fine.
things.
We don't need it.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, we're good.
Anyway,
I see how
that's
you played that. That was good. That was good. I like that. Very good.
subtle, right? That's why you pay me the big bucks anyway.
That's right. Very good. Very good. You don't want to appear too greedy or anything like that.
No,
you know
not
what
at
I mean?
all. Never. So thanks everybody for listening for 500 episodes, and we'll catch everybody back here next week for some more Morelia Python Radio. Good night.